So let's begin and daven that the zchut of our learning should help to bring home all of the rest of the hostages and protect our soldiers and Am Yisrael and all of the innocents and bring an end to all of our wars and also be an Ilui Neshama for my mother, Shlomo Leah Bas Menachem Mendel Baruch.
Amen.
Okay, so we're still in this right. So Michael Werner, I don't know if you got to listen last week. I spent the whole shir on this passage in the Gemara in Shabbos that was censored because people thought that it was a reference to Jesus, and it was not a very kind reference. And so we ended up spending the whole time on that. So if you haven't listened, if you're interested in that subject, that was the subject from last week. And the reason we did that is because in the sugya that we did the week before, when we started to do the sugya about Kelev Shoteh, we saw that Rav said that the source for a Kelev Shoteh, the reason that there's such a thing as a Kelev Shoteh, is because Nashim Kashfaniot Mesachakot Bo, that female witches or sorceresses were playing with it, which Rashi explained meant Marot Bo Kishvehem Liskok. They would show their magic on it just for fun. And even though the Gemara rejects that as the source for Kelev Shoteh, nonetheless, it's one of the theories. And at the time, you may remember, Paul said, "Oh, you see, they attribute magic to women. They only talk about witches." At which point, I said, "It's not the only place they talk about sorcery." And there's a Gemara in Shabbos that was censored that talks about somebody who brought magic back from Egypt. And there are those who think that it's a reference to Jesus.
Yeah,
So
so
I'm not going to.
I've actually read that particular Gemara.
Yeah. So if you're interested, you see it there. And we looked at Tosfos. There's a censored Tosfos. Most of the Tosfos that's in the standard page was removed. But Tosfos there talks about it more. And actually, it's the Shita of Rabbeinu Tam that it's Dafka not talking about Jesus. And he gives reasons why. And that's what we did last week. There are other references to Jesus, or there are other references that are possibly to Jesus. It's not clear. And when I was researching last week's shir, so now you can if you type in probably in English also, but I know if you type in Hebrew that you want sources on Jesus in the Talmud, then there are websites that show you the different passages. Anyway, we're not so concerned about Jesus. Okay, but now we need to just remind ourselves about the beginning of this sugya. So let's start off and let's reread what we've read already. So Michael Schwartz, why don't you start? Mishna Shachal.
Mishna Shacho Kelev Shoteh Vukule. Tana Rabbanon. Chamisha Devarim Ne'emru B'Kelev Shoteh. Piv Patuach. Riro Notef. Vaznav Seruchot. Uznavo Munach Al Yerchotav. Umahalech B'Tzidei Darchim. V'yeshomrim Af Novech Ve'ein Kolo Nishma.
Okay, so that's the Breita. So let's just review what are the signs of Kelev Shoteh. There are 5 things.
So the sages taught, rabbis taught 5 things that were said about a rabid dog. its mouth is open. It drools, it's dripping saliva. Its ears were like flopping down. Its tail was between its knees, its legs, and it goes on the side of the road of the way. And there are others that say its nose. I don't remember noveach.
Af means af means also.
Oh,
Michael, what
oh,
did you
oh,
say?
oh, oh, also noveach. No, okay, no, I don't remember that.
Michael,
It barks, but his voice is not heard.
right.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So now the Gemara. So of course the Gemara is bringing this Breita because the Mishnah talked about Kelev Shoteh. What did the Mishnah say about Kelev Shoteh?
There was debate about whether if somebody's bitten by the dog, you feed them the lobe of the liver. And there's I forget who said, somebody said yes, you do that, and then I think the Rabbanan or the conclusion was that we don't do that, probably because it's not an effective cure.
Okay, more or less correct, right? It says this is the Mishnah. Mishnah Shachot Kelev Shoteh. Ein machinato mechatzer kaved shalo. You don't feed it the lobe of the liver, its lobe of the liver. And Rabbi Matya ben Harash matir. So this Rabbi Matya ben Harash, he permitted giving it the chatzer kaved, and we talked about that a little bit. So here the Gemara, as we pointed out a couple of weeks ago, the Gemara here in this bringing this Breita is trying to first of all define terms. That is, what distinguishes a kelev shoteh? How do we know if something is a kelev shoteh? So this is the first order of business. And so we have these 5 signs, possibly a 6th. And then the Gemara says, okay, so Michael Schwartz continue, Mimai.
Mimai have Rav Amar Nashim Kashpaniyot Misachachot Abo Shmuel Amar Ruach Ra'ah Shora Alav. My Benehu.
So wait, so first, let's explain that. Go ahead.
Okay, why is the dog rabid? What's the cause? I guess colloquially,
Yeah.
Rav says that witches are playing with it, and Shmuel says that a ruach ra, the evil spirit has landed on it, alighted on it.
Right, or right is yeah, hovering or shoran, right? Okay.
Dwelling.
Dwelling on it, you might say. Okay, so that's their machloket. So as we pointed out also last time, the machloket here, the Gemara wants to know my beinayu. What does my beinayu mean?
What's the difference between those two opinions? What's the practical difference between those two different opinions?
Right. So yeah. So what's the practical difference? And so continue. Ika beinayu.
Icha beneu lemiktalea bedavar hanizrach. Tanya kivate dishmuel keshohargin oto ein horgin oto ela bedavar hanizrach. De chayef be mistaken de naket le mayet.
Okay, so let's explain this.
Okay,
So Ika beinayu.
so there is between them. You should kill it in something that's thrown.
Right, or to kill it. In other words, what's the difference between them? To kill it with something that's thrown. And so who says what?
So Shmuel follows his reasoning that that when you kill it, you don't kill it, but with something that's thrown.
Okay, so that's the Gemara, right? Tanya Kavate de Shmuel. What does that mean? What do the words mean? Tanya Kavate de Shmuel.
It's taught in a Baraita that the Shmuel follows his opinion.
No,
Uh,
that Tanya Kavate de Shmuel. There's a Braita that learns like Shmuel.
Oh, okay.
We learn in a Braita Kavate Kamoto to Shmuel. It's a
Come on.
formation, and the Kavate refers to the A part, which is possessive. That refers to Shmuel. So the Braita learns like Shmuel. So we understand from the Braita, from this Braita that, let's go back. Ika Beinayu. So the difference between Rav and Shmuel is to kill it with something that's thrown, meaning, to put it in a slightly different way, the difference between them is whether or not you have to kill it with something that's thrown, as opposed to what?
I think we said with your hands.
Yeah, with your hands, or something more direct.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we say, so the Gemara says, so I asked you, so who said what? In other words, according to whose shita would it be that you can only kill it with a davar hanizrak?
That would be Shmuel, who holds that it's caused by Ruach Ra'ah.
Right. So last time, Michael Werner, if you remember, so we talked about it, and you said I could make an argument either way, which in theory maybe you could. It's an interesting thing. Based on the Gemara here, it's actually a little bit limited, but yes, the Gemara clearly understands that if something has a ruach ra'ah, then the only way you can get rid of it is by the only would be to get rid of it by killing it with something that you throw, as opposed to touching it, because presumably touching it might affect you as well with the ruach ra'ah. Okay, so we learn in a Braita like Shmuel that when you kill it, ein horginoto ela b'davar hanizrak. Just a second. Shnia. Right, that's the Braita. I have a feeling this part should go here, but I'm just going to leave it for now. Okay, D'chayef be mistakan, denachet le mayet. So what does that mean?
I'm not sure. The nakit would be like to strike it.
No, actually it means to bite. But it's not to strike. No, D'chayef be. So look at Rashi. D'chayef be means what?
To strangle it?
Hamid chakech.
I'm not sure.
I think he may be frozen.
Oh, I didn't realize.
He's
Because it's not me, because I've been having problems too. But if I
no, but I think he's frozen. Yes.
yeah, it's all right.
Um, oh, there he goes. He just disappeared.
They figured it out.
I dropped out. Do you know, I was going to tell you at the beginning of the class that last week, after being here for months, the internet got so bad, I finally mentioned it to the property manager. And it turns out that there's a booster that was next door to me that was not turned on. So they turned it on and they placed it differently, and now he told me, so it's greatly improved, so I thought we wouldn't have any interruptions. And he also told me he's going to get a better one because now it's okay, but it's not phenomenal. But last week I was down to like 3 or 4 millibits per second, and now I'm up to like 40, so that's better. But anyway, hold on, let me get my screen back up here. Oh, wrong screen. Hold on. Where is my screen? Oh, okay. Do you see the Gemara now? Do you see what the screen that we had? Yes,
Yeah,
thank
yes,
you.
yes.
Okay. All right. So what are we saying? So actually that was the Braita, and then the Gemara says the Chayif mistakan. So the way you would translate that is Asher midchakech bo mistaken. One who rubs against it becomes endangered. So one who rubs against what? Who's the one and what are they rubbing against?
So somebody who rubs against either the rabid dog or the dog who's possessed by ruach ra'ah, or anything that's possessed by ruach ra'ah is in danger.
Well, not necessarily. Let's not expand it more than what we're talking about. What are we talking about? What has the ruach ra'ah?
The dog.
The kelev shotes. So the way we understand it is one who rubs against a rabid dog is in danger. Dinachet, all right, or if I'm sorry, what the chayef be, right? So if the dog rubs against him, then the person that is rubbed against is in danger. Dinachet, the one who is bitten by it, bitten by the dog, mayet, he'll die. So these are prognoses, right? This is what the Gemara is telling you. What happens in your interactions with a rabid dog? So if the dog rubs against you, then you are in danger. But if the dog bites you, you're going to die, right? Denachet le shekelev noshcho, and actually this word, right? So nachet in with a chaf, nachet in Aramaic means bite, nachat, bite, and you'll see it in the Targum soon, a little later in Bamidbar, when it talks about the
Nachash, the nachash, the fiery serpents.
very good. So if you look in the Targum there, the Targum will tell you that where it says nashach in Hebrew, it'll say nachet in Aramaic. So you learned a new Aramaic word. Okay, and chayef I did delve into this, but see in modern Hebrew, and this is based on, I think, biblical Hebrew, we have this idea of chafifa. So chafifa is also when two things are right next to each other. What do we call that?
Adjacent.
No,
Chica and jowl.
no. There's a simple word for this. Chofafim. I can't think. All right, whatever. Things that are chofef are right next to each other. Also, it's even more than adjacent because it means that they're touching, that they're right next. They're right next to each other. So this is what. Anyway, I can't think of the word. Okay,
Up close and personal.
that's not a simple word. Anyway, okay, so So we understand. So this is what we understand, that we have a Braita that goes like Shmuel. So what we're saying is a Kelev Shoteh. The only way to deal with it is to throw something at it, to kill it. And if you and then we find out that if it rubs against you, you're in danger. If it bites you, you're going to die. So Michael Werner, the Chayef Bey.
The Chayef Bey Mistakan. So if you rub against it, you're in danger. My Takante, actually my eyes are not very good there, so I don't see the.
Hold on.
Actually, I'll just put my glasses on. That's fine. Oh, that's better. My Takante, my Takante. What is the remedy?
Yeah.
Nishalach ma'aneh v'nirhit.
Near hut. Or
Nirhat.
near height. Okay, whatever.
Nirhat.
Okay.
So it is said, something is sent.
No, okay, so wait, let's start off at the beginning. The Chayefe Mistakan. So in other words, now the Gemara is taking these two sentences, right? These two prescriptions, or not prescriptions, these two prognoses, right? That if you rub against it, or if it rubs against you, then you're in danger. So it takes the first one first, the Chayefe Mistakan. So we're going to take that one first, and we're going to ask, "My takante, what's the remedy?" So in other words, what do you do if a rabid dog rubs up against you? So the answer is nishalach mane v'narhet. So you're right, shalach you would think is the same word as shalach, like to send, but it's not. And it means to strip down, to strip off this. It's used elsewhere to mean like to take the skin off of, but here it means to strip off mane. So mane would be his. In this case, it's his clothes. It could also mean it would mean it's the same word in Hebrew as kelim. And just like kalim sometimes means clothing, right? It's a usable thing, is a kli. So amana is also something. It's the same thing as kli. So it means he strips his nishalach mane, strips off his clothes, v'nirhat, and he runs away. He runs. Hold on a second. Yeah, and see Rashi says nishalach mane. Yafshit bigadav, strips his clothes off. So if he rubs against you, the way I understand that is, in other words, it means even if he rubbed up against you and you presumably are clothed, so you have to take your clothes off and run. Why that's the takana, I'm not sure, but we can talk about that in a second. So that here then we have a Maaseh Shahaya. Michael Werner, you can continue reading. Rav Huna.
Rav Huna Barei and Rav Yehoshua. Chaf Bechad Minahu Beshuka. Shalhinhu Lemane Berahit. So, should I continue reading?
You can translate. That's okay. Go ahead.
Rabbi Huna held according to the opinion of
No, what does beret mean?
um, oh, Bray.
Michael
Not
Schwartz,
The son of.
the son of.
right. Okay.
Okay, Rav Huna, the son of Rav Yeshua. You've had it many times, but now you'll remember. Like bar mitzvah, right? Is the son of a mitzvah, right? But for a girl, it's actually a brat. We should call it a brat mitzvah, but we call it bat mitzvah. In Aramaic, the bat becomes brat. In any event, Rav Huna bereder of Yeshua chaf be'echad minayu b'shuka. So chaf be. Well, what do you think chaf means? What are we taught? What's the subject of our discussion right now?
The remedy for being rubbed, remedy for the danger of having rubbed against a rabid dog.
Okay, so, and what was the term for rubbing against?
Oh, haif. Okay, right. Okay,
Okay,
so rubbed against chad one
one minaihu,
one of that kind.
one of them, or it's one of them, chad minaihu, chaf be, rubbed against him in the shuk. Okay, so one of whom?
Rabid dogs.
So a rabid dog. Apparently, there was more than one. Rubbed up against Rav Huna bereder of Yeshua when he was in the shuk, meaning he was out in public when this happened. And what did he do? Shalchinhu lemane v'rahet.
He stripped off his clothes and ran.
So Maaser Rav. All right. So now we have an actual example of somebody who fulfilled this. This is what you do. This presumably is an example of what one does in this situation because of the sakana, right? If the dog rubs against you, we already said mistakan, you're in danger, and in halacha, there are isurim around dangerous things that the Gemara says elsewhere that we consider danger, like we're more machmir about danger than we are about isur in general. So Rav Huna bereder of Yeshua took this sakana very seriously, and he knew that the takana the remedy was to strip down and run, and that's what he did. And what did he say? Amar.
Amar kayanti be'atzmi ha'chochma tiyeh be'aleha.
Okay, so
So
what did he say? Kiyamti bi'atzmi.
I fulfilled in myself. I fulfilled myself. Wisdom will be found.
No, tichayeh, not tihiyeh. Tichayeh.
Wisdom will live.
No, will make live.
Will make live. Right, it's causative. Will make live. Its master, her master.
Right, or it masters. It's actually plural.
Plural.
Be'aleh. So what does that mean? So we had this earlier, right? What does it mean in this? What is he saying? What is he trying to say from this pasuk?
I mean, it's both general and specific. It's specific in the sense that he knew that the remedy was to strip off his clothes and run. And so wisdom, or this particular wisdom, kept him alive.
Very good. Yeah, that's what it is. Where else did we see it? Who else
And
said this?
so I believe there's some other remedy. And I believe, oh yes, it is the remedy for, was it Rav and Shmuel were traveling and one got a bonus?
Uh,
I'm getting it.
it was in the Sugi of Bulmus. I believe it was Rabbi Yochanan who said that.
Okay.
And what did he do?
I believe that Rabbi Yochanan.
All right, so
He did something that was that would otherwise been. I'm
Amar
getting.
Rabbi Yochanan, Pamachat achazani bulmus, v'ratzti lemizracha shel te'ena. I ran to the east of the fig tree, v'kiyamti bi'atzmi, achachmat chayeh ba'aleh. By doing that, I fulfilled for myself, I fulfilled with myself this pasuk, achachmat chayeh ba'aleh, meaning that he understood that the best way to cure his bulmus would be to eat figs that specifically that grew on the east side of the tree. So similarly, Rav Huna Bered Rav Yeshua also says this about himself when he stripped off his clothes and ran away after being rubbed against by a rabid dog. Okay, so Michael Schwartz, Dinachetele.
Denafetele mayit. My taknete, Amar Abai, Nite Mashka da Apa, Vadichra, Tov Aleha, Anapolania, Bar Palanita, Amashka da Apa de Kira, Kativna Alach, Vakatni, Vakanti, Kanti, Vakleros, Vamrela, Kandi, Vicaloros, Kaka Shem, Tsevaot, Amen, Selah.
Okay, you know what? That's a lot. So that's only the middle of it, but it's okay. Let's stop there for a second. This is all one thing, and I see that I'm missing a yud here. Abaye. Okay. So what is this? So now we're doing the second part. So first, right, we had two prognoses, right? If the dog rubs against you, you're in trouble, right? You're in danger, and if the dog bites you, you'll die. So now we're discussing the second. We discussed the first one. You have to. What's the takana? You strip off your clothes and run. What's now we're going to say denachet le mayet. My takante. So if the dog bites you and you're going to die, so what's the remedy for that? So Abaye said what? Okay, so this is a lot of Aramaic, so I'll help you through. Nete mashka da apa de dichra. Nete is we'll bring, right? You have to bring. Mashka is a skin. The apa is a kind of an animal. And Rashi says, Mashka da'apa hu hatzavoa, which is also, I found out in modern Hebrew. Tzavoa is a hyena. And Rashi translates it as something else. Uvalaz fotosyuv, I don't know how you say that. And the translator of Rashi's French, Old French, he says it's mimine hagchanim chaya hadomeh le'nemiyah. those are types of animals that would be uh, like a mongoose or a genet. They're all referring to different kinds of mammals that are torfim. How do we say that in English? That they
Like scavengers?
Scavengers.
not just scavengers.
They eat carrion.
No, toref is not.
The tear,
Yeah,
that,
so yeah,
that- that-
yeah
they-
they
they-
tend. I don't think that's just scavengers though.
right, it's predators.
Predators. Thank you. That's the word. Predators. Okay. So what you're supposed to do, okay, this gets very wild, I have to say. Nete mashka de apa de dichra. You take the skin of a male hyena, or depending on how you translate it. But in modern Appa, Rashi translates as tsaboa, and even though he goes on to say, seems to be he's indicating a different animal. In modern Hebrew, a tsaboa is a hyena. Okay, so let's say. So you take. I'm not going to recommend that we actually do this, so it's fine. We'll translate it how we translate it. You take the.
Do not try this at home.
Don't try this at home. Take the skin of a male hyena, v'nichtov alei, Michael Schwartz.
And write on it. I am so and so, the son of so and so. My mother is use the mother's name.
Right,
Um,
because it's the female, right? Right, so Planya is like Plony in Hebrew, right? Right. I'm so and so. And there's put your name in here. I so and so, the son of my mother, so and so.
on the skin of this male animal. And write on it all. Uh,
This is
and
also the first person. Katevna.
I write on it.
Yeah, I'm writing on it. And then these words, kanti kanti kleros. And some people say you're supposed to write kanti kanti kloros. This is some kind of an incantation. And it's not clear what it means, but I did see that Jastra says kleros means lot or destiny. Jastra also says about kanti kanti, he just says it's the words of an incantation. And you see, kanti kanti kleros and kandi kandi kloros are basically the same. It probably had to do with the accent. The taf here becomes the kaf becomes a kuf, the taf becomes a dalid. And even though we don't differentiate between a kaf and a kuf, in principle, they're pronounced differently, but they're obviously very similar. The kaf, uh, the kaf is a softer version of a kuf. Kuf is a harder K, and the kaf would be a softer. Anyway, that's a linguistic thing. It doesn't matter, but you have to. So what you're going to do is you're going to make this declaration that I wrote on the hide of a hyena the following, that I wrote kanti kanti kleros Kaka Hashem Tzavakot, Amen, Amen, Selah. So you write down this incantation, you put it on, you make the declaration that you're writing it, and you write it. And then what do you do?
First of all, is that the Aramaic, the Kanti or Kandi?
The kanti, I'm not sure, but see, I tried to tried to look into this a little bit further. I didn't get much further than just looking at Jastro. I think I looked at Steinsaltz. I think Steinsaltz just puts it as is. It could be in the. I only have Steinsaltz as it is on the web. if you have like, oh, actually, I could check this out because they have it next door. They have a fuller version. He might have a note about this somewhere, but I'm thinking that Kanti um, might be related to the word incantation. You know, like canting, which is incantation. Kanti kanti kleros, so making uh, uh, an incantation for my lot or for my destiny. And then you declare Hashem's names. These are, you say Ka, right? And then Hashem, these are all Shemot Hashem. Tzavakot is also a Shem Hashem. Tzavakot doesn't appear as a Shem Hashem in the Torah, but appears elsewhere in Nach. And it is one of the Shemot that you're not allowed to erase. Hashem Tzavakot. So, and then you say Amen, Amen, Salah. So you write down this incantation.
I have a gesture here if you want me to look it up real quick, if you think
No,
it's
I
more.
looked at that. I'm
Oh,
saying
okay,
that's
I
what
see,
that's
okay.
what I just told you what Jastrow says.
Okay, okay,
That
doesn't say anything.
that's all he says. Um, I had a couple of other places to look, but I actually did a quick web search, and all I found was I found a page that talks about how Chazal dealt with rabid dogs, and basically just quotes this Gemara. So whatever. We don't have to go into it. I don't think we're going to, like I say, I don't think we're going to use this. But nonetheless, this is what you were supposed to do. So you make this, Michael Werner, I know you're trying,
here.
you're still with us. Okay. Okay, so you make this incantation, you write it down on the hide of the hyena, and then what do? So now continue. V'nashlichinhu, v'nishlachinhu.
Venishlichinu lema'aneh v'likibrenu ne lekibrenu be kivrei ad tresar yarche shata v'nafkinu uniklinu v'tanuru un badrinu lekitmea afrashat darchim.
Okay, that's also a lot. So let's go through this. So v'nishlachinhu l'maneh. So we know what that means.
Okay, so he strips off his clothes.
Uh-huh.
And he buries them in a grave for 13 months.
For 12 months.
12 months.
Tresar, right? For 12 months. Shata. Shata just means
year, yeah.
a year, for a 12-month year. Okay,
And
he buries them in the graveyard, Beikivre, in the graveyard for 12 months a year. V'napkinhu,
and then he takes them out.
v'niklinhu.
That I don't know, or something in a furnace, and he.
Yeah, so you can guess this one.
Oh, so he puts them in a furnace, or
Yeah,
burns them in a furnace.
he burns them. The word here also we have in Hebrew. We have, it's also biblical. Lechem b'kali b'karmel lo tochlu. Right? You should all know that. So what's kali? What's
to
that?
roast, like roast.
Yeah, roasted. Right. You don't eat roasted. There it means like roasted grain, but here it just means to burn.
Oh,
Right. So
like nuts.
Right. Yeah, right. Kluyi, right. You can get them at your local whatever. Exactly. Right. So we use it in modern Hebrew, we use it more like in that sense, in the biblical sense that it's roasted or also the word just escaped my head. Doesn't matter. Wow, it's really bad. Okay, so you write this incantation down on the skin of a hyena, and then you take off your clothes, and then you bury them in the graveyard for a 12-month year. You take them out, you burn them in an oven. Univadrinhu lekitmei parashat derachim. Okay, so the root here is badar, and this is this is the same as in Hebrew as the root pei zayin resh, pazar. All right. And the bet is like the pei, the dalet is exchanged with the zayin, and the resh remains. Pazar univadrinhu. All right. So and then you scatter it, like the fazer, right? You scatter the kitme. So what are
The
you going?
ashes?
The ashes,
The
right?
ashes, okay.
Right. Kitma is ash. Aparashat derachim.
Uh,
What's parashat derachim? That's Hebrew.
on the um,
It's at the
on the like the not I was gonna say crossroads, but
yeah, the
crossroads,
crossroads.
okay.
Yeah. So you scatter the ashes at a crossroads. Okay. Um, that's only the first part of it. That's what you do if you got. That's only the first part of what you do, and now there are other instructions. V'hanach, Michael Werner, why don't you continue? V'hanach Tresar.
V'hana tresar yarche shate
Shata.
kishte maya lo lishte ela begufta de nechasha delama
Dilma. Dilma.
Dilma Chaze Bevua Deshida Belis Takel Kiha Deeka Bar
Ki ha de
Diaba Bar Marcha Marta
Mart.
Marta Hu Ava Bar Minyome Avada Le Ime Gufta de Dacheva.
Dahava. Okay. So let's go through this. So after you do this thing, right? So in other words, that we've laid out a 12-month, 1-year period that you're going to go through from the time you get bitten, time you get bit. The Hanach Tres, so now we're going to say during that time, Hanach Tresar Yarche Shata, these 12 months of the year, Ki Shate Maya, what would that mean, Michael Werner?
Because he is mad.
No, so Ki here means when.
Actually, and we're mad, it would be with the text, not a yes.
Ki Shate Maya. What's Maya?
I'm sorry, I'm exhausted right now. I don't know.
Okay, Michael Schwartz, why don't you see if you can jump in? What's Maya?
Okay, so when you drink water,
When you drink, right? So during this year, when you drink water, lo lishte,
you
do
you
not
don't drink
drink.
it. Oh,
Okay.
you can both jump in. Lo lishte, don't drink. Ella begufta dinachasha. You only drink water begufta dinachasha.
From the skin of a snake.
No. Rashi here explains. Al yedei kaneh shel nechosha. Gufta is a kaneh. It's a reed. In other words, it's like a straw. We would call it a straw, except it's a straw of nachasha, nechoshet. Your guess of nachash was a good idea, but it didn't work. But it was nonetheless a good idea. Lo ishte ela begufta nechasha. So when you drink water, you only drink through a copper straw, through copper reed. or copper tube, we might say. Why?
Okay.
Dilma chazi bevua d'sheda. What's Dilma? Dilma means perhaps
Right.
or lest, right? Chaze means
One sees.
right. Perhaps right. Lest one sees or lest you see. Bavua. That's also in Hebrew.
In the coming.
You might think, but it's bavua is a reflection. Bavua, I think it comes from the same root, ba, but whatever. Bavua means a reflection. Lest you see, or you might otherwise see, the reflection, the sheda,
Of a shade.
of a shade,
Or a
right?
ghost.
Of a what?
Or ghost.
A shade or a demon or
Demon.
demon, more like I think we would say. The listakan, right? It's lest you'll if you if you don't drink with a straw, if you don't drink with this tube of copper, you might see the reflection of a demon in the water that you're drinking, and you'll become endangered. Rashi explains, Dilma chazi lebavue deshev, shekafatz min hakelav alav umistaken. You might see the shade, the demon, which was the ruach ra'ah, that jumped from the kelev, it jumped from this dog onto him, and then you'd be in danger. In other words, that you would be in danger if you see the reflection of the shade. And then it brings an example, also Maaseh Rav, Ki Hada Abba Bar Marta, like this of Abba Bar Marta, who Abba Bar Min Yume, he was called Abba Bar Min Yume. I'm assuming that Marta was his mother's name. Marta is Martha. It's a woman's name.
Isn't there an important like Roman matron named Marta, if I recall?
Well, we already had it. The name appears in a number of places. There were different people who had the name Marta. But in any event, like this story of Abba Bar Marta, who was Abba Bar Minyume, Avada le ime gufta de dahava. So what would that mean? Avada le.
Um, he made. Um,
Right, or she made Avada le ime. She made for him, his mother, a,
made,
a
made
gufta. Now we know what a gufta is.
a straw.
Right, a straw or two, but not of nechasha, but of dahava.
Gold.
What?
Gold.
I can't hear you.
Gold.
Gold, very good. Right, and here also you see the dalid that was exchanged. The dalid in the Aramaic is the same as the zion in this word in Hebrew. Dahav, zahav. So, Paul, you're joining us late. I hope you're well. We were just
to the tefillah because I had the yahrzeit today.
Okay. I
Wednesday.
understand.
So Wednesday.
I understand. So, if you want, you can listen to this again. But we just went through what you're supposed to do if you're bit by a rabid dog. It's quite a complex set of things that you have to do. And actually, I was going to wind up here. I think this is actually a good place to stop, but that's the end of the discussion about rabid dogs. The next thing we're going to do, right, is we're going to talk about other things. And I'll just read a little bit from the next part. The next part, we quote the Mishnah, So our Mishnah went too far. Sorry about that. Oh, wait. Hold on. Oh, yeah, yummy. Here we go. So our Mishnah, we started off with bull moose. Somebody who has bull moose, what we do about that. And we talked about Mishnah Shachal Kelev Shoteh. And that was the discussion that we just had now. And that there's a machokas between the Tanakam and Rabbi Matya ben Charash, whether or not you feed him Chatzer Kaved. And now we have another mamar from Rabbi Matya ben Charash that he said, "Achoshesh bigrono matilin lo sam betoch piv b'Shabbat v'imnei shu safek netashad." Okay, so somebody who has like a pain or some kind of feeling in their throat, we put some kind of a drug in his mouth on Shabbat because it's safek nefashot. The whole safek nefashot docha et Shabbat. So the Gemara is going to digress on this a little bit now, and we're just going to read a little bit, and then here. So just read this part, and then we'll talk about it next week. So he talks about a choshesh bigrono. Rabbi Yochanan chash bitzafidna, which I believe in modern Hebrew they say tzafdina. They reverse the yud and the dalet, which is scurvy, understood to be scurvy. Azal gaba dahahi matronita. He went to that woman, this matron, matronita. Avdale milta chamsha umale shabta. She did a thing for him on Thursday and the Erev Shabbat, Male Shabta. And Amarla, he said to her, B'Shabbat Mai. So what about what on Shabbat? In other words, what about Shabbat? Amarale lo tzrichat. She said to him, you don't need. And then he said, I mitzrachina, I mitzrichna mai. If I do need, then what? In other words, he wants to know. She was some kind of a healer who did something for him, and she didn't reveal to him what her secrets are. But he's not going to see her on Shabbos, so he wants to know. Okay, but what if I have symptoms on Shabbos? Amar alei. So she said to him, "Ishtavali de lo megaleit. Swear to me that you will not reveal. Ishtavale lahad Yisrael lo megalena. I swear by the God of Israel, I will not reveal." Nefak darsha befirka. He went out and he darshaned it. In other words, he spoke about it in his shir, in his perek. And the Gemara says, "V'ha'ishtavala le'elokad Yisrael lo megalena." He swore that by the God of Israel that he wasn't going to reveal it. So the Gemara says, "Hala amo Yisrael megalena." For his people Israel, he revealed it. V'ha'ika chilu Hashem, but isn't there a chilu Hashem? The megale la meikara, that he revealed it to begin with, from the beginning. So I'm going to leave it that I'm going to leave you with a cliffhanger about exactly what that means. You can look at Rashi, whatever. But this is what we're going to pick up next time. We'll finish that story. And then we have other related stories. But soon, I decided we're going to go through all of these. We'll go through all of them. Soon we're going to come to the sugya. That's the end of the Mishnah, and that's the Mishnah where it talks about pikuach nefesh, right? When a building or something falls on a person, then what you do, and that's excuse me. When we get there, that I mean, as I say, this for us is not really halacha l'maaseh. It's more kind of a folklore, a folklore interest to see how our chachamim handled what they handled. But then we're going to get to things that are much more practical about pikuach nefesh on Shabbos and how we handle it, and the basis for many practical halachot. But I think that's it for today.
Our experience of rubble should only be theoretical.
Bezrat Hashem. Okay, so all right. So Paul, so who was your site for?
For my mother.
For your mother. So we should also dedicate our learning at least Lamafreya in honor of your mother. What was your mother's name?
Rivka Rachel בת אלעזר ופאולה.
Okay, so she should have an Ilui Neshama. And we should all see better days soon. And Bezrat Hashem, I'll see you next week. And I guess we have to be grateful to Iran that Im lo shigru bizmana shiur, right? They didn't target us.
I did hear some distant rumbling.
Yeah.
But
Well, I don't know if anything happened, but there was an all clear in Tel Aviv after
We didn't get anything.
so
We had
there's
notes.
I mean I heard some rumbling, which I guess was an interception. I mean, like far away, but it sounded it troubles.
Okay. Shalom da mitzarot. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Bye bye.